Boom! And we are live with another episode of the Brownwater Banter Podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That's right. And we got a great show for you this evening, man. We got Matt Haley in the studio with us running for sheriff in Harrison County. We're super excited to have him stop by, man. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to chat it up this evening.
Glad to be here.
But before we do that, we're going to thank the people that keep the lights on for us right out of the gate. 2023 is the year to keep your mouth clean. Go see Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles. They are on Facebook and Instagram at Southern Magnolia Smiles. He's got a great team over there. They're located, like I say, Washington Avenue, Ocean Springs. When you're ready to book that appointment with them, give them a call at 228-215-1202 and tell them you heard about him on the Brownwater Banter Podcast. Our good buddy Jesse over at Hilltree Marketing, hilltreemarketing.com, also local team, local guy. If you need a website built for any reason, you're a content creator, small business owner, or you're running for sheriff, doesn't matter. He can take you from no concept to an award-winning website, all here local, one phone call away. Jump over to hilltreemarketing.com, look at some of the brands that he's worked with, some of the product that he's already put out, or go check out brownwaterbanter.com because he built our website and we're super proud of it. Next up, Taylor & Cox Law Firm. That's our good buddy Tyler. I feel like I'm finally getting comfortable enough to say it correctly. Taylor & Cox and then Tyler.
Jesse's building his website.
He is building his website. Yeah, we talked about it on 2 episodes ago. Taylor & Cox Law Firm, they've been practicing law in Pascagoula for over 30 years. They specialize in criminal law, family law, and civil litigation defense. If you find yourself in need for some legal representation, they come highly recommended from everybody that we spoke to in the community and now from us. Taylor & Cox Law Firm, give them a call at 228-696-0111. And we'd also like to thank them for sponsoring the Brownwater Banter app the rest of the year. Tyler came on for the rest of the year. Way to scoop that up.
Way to be a guy.
Way to save us a bunch of phone calls. We appreciate that. Rocky Brooks over at Cedar Swamp. He's got your tackle and apparel needs covered. He's local. He's a local shop, not the big box guys. He's got a location in Gulfport and Gaucher. Like I said, rods, reels, tackles, Brownwater Banter hats, which is super cool. He's slinging kayaks out of Gulfport. Big store over there that he just opened. He's been doing really well. We're super proud of him. Couldn't be happier to have him on board. Look him up, C2 in Swamp on Facebook, or give them a call at 228-205-3964. Last and definitely not least is Forever Young Men and Women's Health. That's our buddy Kendrick over there. If you find yourself lethargic, sluggish, you can't get off the couch, you just don't feel like you got that pep in your step, go check him out, Forever Young Men and Women's Health. He's on Facebook, or give him a call at 228-363-6623. He can run some lab works. He can see if, hormone replacement, testosterone replacement, maybe something that can help you out. He specializes in both men and women. So give him a shout. Bring a friend. Give him a shout and get replaced together. We talked about
2-for-1 discount.
I don't know about discounts. We can't say that, but he did say don't go get replaced if and your significant other, your lady friend is not on the same level as you. Could be a little bit awkward. So I feel like he's really thought that through for everybody. So Matt, man, thank you again for stopping by. Super glad to have you in the studio. We're not reinventing the wheel here today. We always like to start with everybody's backstory. You're running for sheriff, Harrison County.
Yep.
How'd you get into law enforcement? How many years you got in the game?
26. I retired in January with 26 and a half years.
Okay.
So it's ironic, and I tell this story to be funny. I grew up single mother of 2 in a pretty rough neighborhood and spent most of my childhood, like most kids in that neighborhood, trying to avoid the police,
right?
And
become one,
and then end up becoming one.
Yeah.
But
you're like some people I know, though. You said you retired in January, so you're not good at retiring.
No, I'm not good. I'm not good at retiring.
I work with a couple guys like that. I'm like, when I retire, dude,
your dad's the best. Your dad's one of the best.
When I retired, of course, all my buddies from work called me, man, how's retirement treating you? And I'm like, I'm working harder now than I worked when I was at work.
Yes,
right. I mean, this is not retirement.
Yeah, no doubt.
I got a couple buddies that's like, my honeydew list has been through the roof. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But anyways, I got out of high school and worked in a couple different factories, and just got to a point where I knew I needed to do something different. And a buddy of mine at the time was working at the jail, and he was on me about coming to work with him. And I was like, man, I just don't. That's not.
Yeah,
I'm not really interested in that. And he's like, man, but in the same breath, there was benefits, and there was some
career.
There was some honor to it.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I don't have anything to lose. So I ended up getting on at the jail. which I did not like at all.
Which I got a feeling that's going to come up in this conversation, right?
Yeah. But I powered through it, and some supervisors, seen a lot in me apparently.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was working B block, which is the bad boy section. And Sheriff Joe Price at the time called me in the block, and he said, "My man, I heard you've been doing a good job down there at the jail for me. Monday, I want you to start at transport division." I said, "Yes, sir, Sheriff. I'll be there." So I went from corrections to transportation.
That's carrying prisoners back and forth to like
any
court?
Movement of inmates.
Gotcha.
Movement of inmates. And when I got there, I was like, man, this would be a great gig if you were close to retirement. I mean, it's I really wanted to go to the road. So the supervisor there, same thing. He seen a little bit more in me, so I ended up going to USM Academy in '98, first class of '98. And when I went to patrol, then there was no field training program. There was no field training officers. You just rode with a senior officer, and when they thought you had it, off you go.
We call that the good old days. The old days. Yeah. A little less technical, right?
That was the good old days.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget. I was riding with one of the senior guys, and after about 2 weeks, I come in to work one night, and somebody had called in sick, and the old captain at the time, Captain Greg Garska, which he's long gone now, throws me a set of keys and a map book and says, "Sink or swim, Haley."
Oh, bro. No. Yeah.
I guess that's kind of like your dad or your grandpa bringing you on the pier and kicking you off.
That was one of the scariest
nights of
my life, because I remember walking down the walkway of the jail praying, going, "Dear God, please just don't let them give me anything crazy. I'll be all right as long as it's nothing crazy." And as soon as I got in the car, and remind you, I didn't even have a portable. Like they didn't even issue me a portable at that time.
So you had no communication with like.
Well, I had the car radio.
Okay, but if you're outside the car, it ain't gonna do no good.
Yeah. So as soon as I got in the car, they give me a heated domestic.
God. Those are fun. Right?
Oh yeah.
The worst call in law enforcement, isn't it?
Yeah. And then if you needed another unit, I mean, it was 20 or 30 minutes away sometimes. So man. It was, you had to be able to take care of business.
Right.
You definitely had to have the gift of gab.
Yeah.
But I can remember at that time of my career hanging my microphone out the window of the car whenever I would do traffic stops, because I didn't have a portable. Wow. Long time ago.
Yeah. Now we got body cams. GPS.
Yeah, I mean, and some of these young guys, they gripe because their car's not new enough or whatever. And I'm like, they didn't even issue us cars. The cars we were in ran 24 hours a day. Like you would get off a shift, and the next guy would be waiting for you to bring that car there, and you just take your stuff out, and he'd put his stuff in.
Wow! You just hope the guy in front of you wasn't a messy guy, right? Throwing hamburger wrappers and coffee and spit cups all over the place.
But anyways, I spent some time as a DUI officer. I ended up helping start the field training officer program with the sheriff's office way back when, and then 2001. I tried out for K9 and got the position, and I spent 10 years in K9, 6 of those working criminal interdiction, which is the officers that you see on the interstate.
Yeah, okay.
The non-MHP officers.
Right.
And to this day, that portion of K9 was still probably the best, the funnest part of my career.
Complete outsider looking in, that's what I would think.
Is that like drug busts and stuff like that, semi trucks?
Yeah. So, when I worked criminal interdiction, our unit, which we had, I think, 6 guys on our unit at the time, we were seizing more drugs, money, and arresting more fugitives than the entire MHP troop.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we were doing a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing a lot. And we'd work details. I mean, we would have other agencies come in and help. I mean, it was a big deal. But, I got to be part of a lot of controlled deliveries, which was, I may stop a car that may have, 20 kilos of cocaine in it, and whoever's in the car decides they want to cooperate. And we go with that vehicle wherever it's going to, whether it be to, South Florida or
really?
North Carolina or whatever. We follow, we were with it the whole time.
Wow.
So, and there's a lot of law enforcement guys that never get to experience that their whole career. So I was fortunate to be a part
scary,
of that.
Huh? I've seen Scarface. I know how bad those guys can be.
Yeah. One of the best ones that I did was it was a heroin stop, and it went from South Mississippi to the Bronx, New York.
Oh,
and it was literally, I went home. This was at the end of shift. I went home, packed a bag, came back, got in the bad guy's car, and off to New York.
You had to ride with them?
I drove it.
Oh, I'm thinking like in a car behind him or something.
No,
yeah,
I drove
don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No.
So that was a straight shot. There's no stop. I mean, you stop for gas, but there's no staying the night or nothing. It's a straight drive.
Wow.
Because these people that are doing this, they're on a time.
Correct.
Right. They don't show up.
And if things don't, line up, then somebody's in trouble.
Yeah.
But that was a very.
I guess the interstates used to be the wild west.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I-10 is. I mean, it's pretty big.
It's a drug corridor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of traffic that goes through there, right?
They call it a pipeline.
Because we're what is it that we connect Florida to Texas? Is that the deal?
And Texas,
and back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Damn. I never really thought about that part of it. We see your cars out there, but you realize how far I guess it can go.
Yeah. And those guys, man, they do a lot. A lot of these the drugs and different things, they're coming to our community. They're not just going to other states.
Right.
They're stopping them that are coming here into our community. And when you stop 10 kilos of cocaine that's going into Gulfport, that's
significant.
You put a damper on somebody.
Yeah.
You put a damper on the drugs that are going to that community. So to me, if we do our part, then other sheriff's agencies and different agencies all along are going to want to do their part. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to stop it.
Okay.
But you got to do your part.
Right. Right.
So I think it's important for us to keep doing that. And it's it's been a benefit to us, and it's been a benefit to the community.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Harrison County is a large sheriff's office. We were talking about that before, and I'm like, I didn't really think about it, right? I mean, how many? It's a lot of land y'all cover.
Oh yeah, so it's 557 square miles of dirt. That's not counting the water. That's of dirt. But yeah,
which you also have to patrol.
Yeah. Saw Harrison County boats the other day.
Yeah,
through there. Yeah. We were in Hancock County. We got off the Kiln exit going to Salt Pepper Oak the other day.
Yeah,
and all y'all signs are up there. I didn't realize Harrison County went that far.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're talking about. Like,
so on the Kill to Lil Road.
Yeah,
it stops at Edwin Ladner's the county line.
It. Yeah, where the gas station is.
Nico's new gas station.
Yes, and that because we made that turn. And literally, they all changed into Hancock County signs. Right. Oh, we must be on the line.
Yeah.
You could tell.
So after that, I did some time in criminal investigations. From there, I went to narcotics, street level narcotics as an investigator. And
what does that mean when you say street level? Does that mean more like?
Yes. Well, I mean,
busting local guys, right?
Local,
okay.
Yeah. And, I mean, sometimes it leads to bigger things, but in Harrison County.
Okay.
So I did that, and I was actually recruited by the ATF. They had a task force going, and they had heard about me and some things that I did, and they came over and approached the past sheriff, Melvin Bristolera, about bringing me on board for their task force. They were trying to take some local stolen guns and different, guns that were used in crimes and different things on a local level, and they knew that I could help with that. So I spent 2 years with them doing that, and then I came back to narcotics and got promoted to a lieutenant over the narcotics division. And also I was the commander of the Coastal Narcotics Enforcement Team, CNET, some people call it. And then I went from there to administration, and boys,
that's when it got red, huh?
He was like, then I just thought I had problems.
Oh man, look,
give me the drug dealers back.
When I'll never forget, and it was a promotion. It was a promotion. So it wasn't a bad move, but when you've been boots on the ground your whole career and chasing bad guys and doing that sort of thing, it's hard to transition into a desk job,
right?
You know, for lack of better words, and that's what it was. And you know, I was a 21-year, you know, boots on the ground guy, so that was a hard adjustment for me to going from kicking doors in every day to
kicking office doors in,
right,
fixing the printer,
kick the printer,
being the logistical guy.
Peggy, I thought we talked about it.
Right,
what are we doing? What are we doing here?
But you know, it gave me a different knowledge of you know, different things that go on. You know,
different side of the
different side of it, yeah. But talking about that, I'll never forget one of the divisions that I took over was the transport division, which was the second division that I'd worked in when I started in law enforcement. And you know, I supervised about 43 people, and a lot of them are, you know, new in law enforcement. And when I came in and took over, I met with them all, and you know, they're like, "Captain, you left narcotics to come here?" like they didn't understand it. And I'm like, you know, it's I've done it all. You know, there's nothing that I haven't done. And you know, when you get to that part of your career, you know, you got to start thinking about different things and the future and all of that. So,
well, and you can bring the expertise, like you said. If you go over transport, you already worked inside of there. Exactly. They can't give you the runaround on things,
right, exactly. And you know, I joked about it because, you know, you get new people that come in that don't know anything about you.
Right.
And, you know, I made jokes about them, like, you know, now I'm just the guy over transport. Like, people have no idea what I've done throughout my career. Like, I've done a lot of cool things, but they just know me as the guy over, you know, over transport and process and canine.
Well, it's kind of, it's a little bit more extreme version, but yeah, I've seen people talk about that. You know, you see that guy that's wearing that Vietnam hat in Kmart who's walking slow or whatever. Kmart, was there even Kmart anymore? Walmart. It's like, don't forget he was a badass back then.
So you know, one of the guys who did my job before me was Joe Peavy, and the same thing. He was just real mild-mannered, real quiet guy. Same thing. Like, he had done a lot, and if you didn't know him, you didn't know that. He was just the guy over transport, you know. But it's you know, and when you run for a position like this, and not just this, a police chief or any high position like this, you want to been there, done that guy.
Correct.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because that makes all the difference in the world.
You can't be sitting at the head of the table and not know what the guys beneath you are going through, because you can't relate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you said you went to administration and was over transport, what was your title at that point? What was
that?
And
I was an administrative captain. Okay. I was the only administrative captain at the department. I was over the transportation division, the process division, the canine division, and courthouse security for all the courthouses and security for all the judges.
Okay.
So I had a bunch of hats.
Yeah.
Is
captain under sheriff? Is that the one right below?
Yeah.
It?
So you had patrol captains. There was I can't even remember what his title was now. A lead captain or something of that nature, but that position dissipated. But it's the patrol captains, and then you have a patrol major, and then you have a major that's over the jail or the warden, and then the major that's over the academy, which would be my opponent.
Okay.
But I was the only administrative captain.
Okay. So you got to see it from that side for sure.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
What? So what's your takeaway from being, like you said, the kicking the door down narcotics guy to the administrative side? It's probably a lot of challenges, just in a different way, right?
I'm telling you, it was a hard adjustment.
Right.
You know, I'll never forget I went and talked to my mama. God love her. I think everybody that's out in the city's got a mama.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I vented to her a little bit.
Back to that experience thing, right?
Yeah, told her what was going on, and she said, "Baby, you can't chase them forever. You got to let those younger guys take over."
Yeah.
And,
probably fed you something too.
Right. You know, but you know, we all of us, when we're men, we don't want to admit when it's time to transition and slow down. You know, because we all still think we've got it.
Right.
I mean, I still think I've got it.
Right. You could probably do it. But just maybe not every day.
Yeah, I may have it once. Right. Yeah. But it was you know, I learned a lot. it was just a different side of it. It made me feel good that now I was part of the decision-making process of the agency.
Guide the ship, right?
You know, we had staff meetings every Wednesday, and we sat down collectively as a group and, you know, discussed things that were going on in our divisions and other people's divisions, and, you know, decided what we needed to do about this problem or that problem. So, you know, one thing I can say about our current sheriff, and I know this isn't about him, but I think the reason he has done so well is because he surrounded himself with people that knew what they were doing, and did their job well. And when you're a police chief or a sheriff or anybody of that magnitude, you know, you have to surround yourself with people that care as much as you do.
I think anybody that's a leader of anything, you hear that quote a lot, right? I want the best of the best in the room. And that way it's easier for me to just kind of critique the little things, right?
The people that he has put in place to do the jobs that they're doing, they belong in those jobs.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's going to be important for me to do the same thing.
What when you say sitting at these meetings and looking at these problems, we've had some guys from Jackson on recently, and I like to hear it from their side of the story, because as somebody who's not a legislator, not in state government, right? We sometimes there's a disconnect there. Same thing with the sheriff's office. Like, what are some of the problems that you can tell us, that the people listening and watching, that y'all deal with from y'all's end?
You know, well, the biggest problem we're dealing with now is staffing.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a nationwide problem. It's not just on a local level. It's everywhere. You know, our jail is right now is about 65 or 70 officers down.
Which is where you started, right?
Yeah, which is where I started. So they're almost at the level of people working there as it was when I was working there.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's more inmates in there now than when you started there, right?
No.
It's the same amount?
There was more.
Really?
When I was there.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Now I got that way wrong. I would have thought there was more now.
And the numbers were less. The number of officers.
Okay.
But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Things have changed, and, you know, there's a certain level that we need to be at, and we need to maintain as far as people per shift and all of that. But
it's a safety issue. Right?
Yeah, it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
That's correct. You know, Hinds County, that would be a jail that is comparable to us. They house about 800 inmates. Ours is set up for 760. They're down 104 correctional officers.
Wow.
Is that
a significant number.
Is it just because I know a lot of people aren't just they're just not working, period. It doesn't matter where they're working at. Is it just they're not working, period? They're not going into law enforcement?
Well, this is just an opinion, of course.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, I feel like we've missed a group of young people, you know, with the defund the police and these officers that are getting ambushed and different things. All of a sudden, parents are not saying, you should be a police officer. You should, you know, not
fireman.
Yeah. So I feel like we've missed a generation. I think we're just now starting to feel that. It's just my opinion, but, you know, if you think about it, you know,
it makes sense.
It makes sense.
No, for sure. I mean, being a police officer, you got to wear a bulletproof vest out every single day.
Yeah.
Right? Just like, I'm not even sure every position in the military does that, right? No offense to them, but they get the recognition for it, right? They get the appreciation, and at least nowadays, where it's different now with law enforcement. You're risking your life, not making a ton of money, and you're getting, you know, air quotes, spit on at home.
We've always struggled a little bit with manpower at the jail, you know, sometimes worse than others, but we're at a critical level right now. You know, so we're definitely going to change some things as far as recruitment goes. And, you know, the military, talking about the military, in my opinion, that's an untapped resource.
You know, you got Facebook page,
you got a lot of these guys that are getting out of the military, and they don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
So I feel like we need to bridge that gap with them, and explore that a little bit more.
How do we do that? Speaking to their
you go to these bases. You go to these bases and talk to their commanders.
Say, hey, you got guys.
And the military's always been great around here. Yeah. You know, working with us and helping us with anything that we need. So it's definitely possible. You know, our current sheriff has tried to do some different things as far as advertising and that sort of thing. But we're at a point now where when the leadership changes over, we're really going to have to invest some time and resources into it.
Well, and you can go ahead.
Have y'all done anything in the schools, school wise? Have y'all tried to go into the schools and say, hey, this isn't as bad as jobs you thought it was?
So that was another thing that I said. I think we need to get into these younger schools and start, bringing our resources to the school, whether it be a field day or whatever, and just kind of not necessarily say you need to be the police, but letting them see what we have and let them see that it's not all ambushes and
right.
Yeah,
right. No,
well, I mean, anytime you see an officer and it's not getting arrested by it, it's a great
right.
It's something good. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the same with one of the things that I'm going to change to is our neighborhood watch stuff. There was a time when neighborhood watch was a big thing. We would bring our canine guys out. They would do canine demonstrations, and we would have our boats out there and, cook for, people in the neighborhood. And there'd be 30 or 40 people out there, kids and everybody else. And they would be more involved. If something went on, they were just more involved altogether, the people in the neighborhood. So I think it's important for us to get back to that.
I'll give you a little tip. They haven't become less aware. They're just on Facebook now.
Right.
And these are Facebook groups because a dog can't fart in a lot of these communities. There ain't a post in such and such community group about it. So I don't know if y'all got anybody in there on that watching that. Just stay in there and you'll solve a lot of crime.
Well, we've got one guy now that does that. And he just needs some help.
Right.
We need to put a little bit more time and resources into it.
You said that, and then that's how you attract the young. Hey, all you TikTokers and Instagram kids, why don't you come and work for the Sheriff's Department? Yeah. We got some cool gadgets, some cool technology, and you'd have them beating down the door.
Yeah. So another thing that I'm going to do is have a media liaison, and not just for news media, but for social media too. Again, the same guy that's doing he
wears a lot of hats,
right? And he just needs some help. He just needs some help.
So what's within your scope or your authority if you win this election here to change? You said you're marketing the job, but if you're marketing something that's not attractive, it doesn't matter how well you market it, right? So how can you make the job better?
And the job itself is a great job. The sheriff's office, we offer a lot of things that
I guess maybe specifically at the prison, right? Because isn't that where the deficiency's at when you listed that 100 and something number?
Yeah.
It's specifically correctional officers, right?
So the bottom line is money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's, and we might as well say it. It's money.
Correct.
Yeah.
When these officers can go to Walmart or Sam's or somewhere and make the same wage as they can going to work in a hostile environment and worry about getting God knows what thrown on them.
Correct.
What's the benefit?
Right.
They're going to get the same benefits there minus all the hassle and the headache.
Right.
So, it's got to be worth their while. And our sheriff's done a great job bringing their salaries up to what they are now, which is right at $36,000 is what they're making now. But we're just comparable to everybody else. When I started in law enforcement, the sheriff's office was the highest paid law enforcement agency on the coast.
36 in today's environment. That's tough.
That's pennies.
That's
pennies. These guys and girls they're working overtime. They're working other jobs just to pay the bills. And we're at a time and era where we've got to get past that. We've got to just like our school teachers. It's a thankless job,
correct,
but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
So let's pay them what they're worth.
It's always been with, I don't know if it's been with the sheriff's department, but it's always been with the teacher, at least in, public school. You got in for the retirement and the benefits. You know what I'm saying? Is that y'all get the same stuff?
Oh yeah, same as teachers.
So at least you still have that
somewhere.
But the money, definitely needs to catch up.
What? How does that change? Is that you got to go look in the budget and just reallocate funds? Can you ask for more money?
Yeah,
is it federal money?
You ask for more money.
Okay.
Yeah, you go to the board, just like the sheriff's does. He on these past raises, he puts these proposals together and takes it before the board. And we've got a good board and
board of supervisors.
Board of supervisors. Yep. And for the most part, they're pro law enforcement. They don't want to see us fail. So, it's just about getting in there and batting your eyes.
Please.
Talking as sweetly as you can and say, Help me out, please.
Yeah. Well, I think we jumped in it before. I mean, I think we jumped into the topics before, but what actually made you throw your hat into the ring to run for sheriff?
You know, and a lot of people ask me that, and you know, I don't have this feel-good story of, you know, my whole career I said I was going to run for sheriff, because that'd be a lie. It's not the case. You know, when I always said that I was going to go out when Troy went out, which is our current sheriff, and when he just, everybody knows that he was having some medical issues, and you know, he decided that he was going to retire, and I wasn't ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, I just wasn't ready to go, and people throughout the agency started calling me, you know, daily. Man, you really should consider, you know, putting your name in the hat. And after the 8th or 9th phone call, you know, I went home and talked to my wife. I said, everybody keeps calling me saying I should consider running for sheriff. And she said, Matt, who else is there? I mean, who else right now is there that has the most experience, you know, that has the experience that you have, and that's done everything that you've done at the sheriff's office? You know, I really didn't want her to be right. So I thought real hard about that for real long. And I was like,
somebody else there.
Like,
yeah.
Well, nobody. And she goes, that's why they're calling you. Everybody likes you. You know, you're just that guy. So, I mean, it only makes sense. And I said, well, I guess you're right. So the rest is history.
Yeah, well, that speaks volumes, though. In my opinion, you know, you can have it either way. That could have been the target the whole time, or
and I'll tell you, you know, when I turned in my paperwork to retire, that was one of the hardest things that I've ever done, because I knew there's a possibility that I would not be going back into law enforcement. Right. You know, if they didn't rehire you, you mean? How does that work when you retire and then go back?
That's a prereq, right? You have to retire to run for sheriff?
You know, it would be real hard to say that you're not politicking on duty. You know, the first time somebody asks you while you're in uniform at work, hey, are you running for sheriff? And, you know, it goes any further than that.
So it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
You know, and our sheriff did it. I just thought it was the right thing to do.
I got you.
And I had the time and I was able to do it. But to turn that paperwork in, knowing that you may not ever go back into law enforcement, and that's where your heart and soul is, it's it was hard.
That's kind of I never really thought about that. That's tough to take that next step. You got to risk. Yeah, kind of risk it all in a certain way. You know.
Yeah, and you know, I said before, I'm just not working for another sheriff. Mm-hmm. Either I'll handle it myself, or, you know, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
I made it through 4. So, you know, and that says a lot.
What's it like? Yeah. What's it like for a regime change? Right. It's
so here's the thing. When I started in law enforcement, Larry Benefield, you know, he was sort of a mentor to me. And when I started in law enforcement, you know, something I'll always remember, he told me, he said, either you're going to be the police or you're going to be a politician. You can't mix the two. Mm. And it was until the first sheriff's race that I really didn't quite grasp what he was saying. But I knew to stay out of the politics of it. You know, just as long as I do my job, nobody's going to be mad at me. Right. And that's exactly what I did. So I was able to transition from you know, that sheriff to the next sheriff, which was George Payne. And I stayed out of the politics of you know, the campaign. And then same thing, you know, from sheriff to sheriff, you know, nobody's going to be mad at you if you just do your job.
Correct.
So, you know, and that's what I've told a lot of the guys that have come in, you know, under me. You know, just be the police. Yeah. Nobody's ever going to be mad at you if you're just the police.
Yeah.
What is we've mentioned, I guess, recruitment, salaries, what's some of the other issues that's facing Harrison County when it comes to law enforcement? Joey works at a school, you know, school security.
So
unfortunately that's always in the news, right?
Well, yeah. And, you know, people, since this has started, you know, I've had a lot of phone calls. Are our schools not safe? And I'm like, our schools are safe. Right. You know, can we make them safer? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, no matter what you do, there's always room for improvement.
Correct. But it's unfortunate that they're a target, whether it's our schools. I mean, I don't think any of the schools knew that they were being targeted, right? Or they would have prevented it.
Absolutely.
Right? So you got to have this kind of constant state of readiness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and there's a few things that I'm going to do different Homeland Security is already doing threat assessments in all the schools, and they do a good job the schools do on following through with whatever they say. Okay, this needs to change and this needs to change. But as far as the sheriff's office goes, K-9 was a big portion of my career. And when I was in K-9, we had school resource dogs.
Yeah, SROs.
And those dogs were trained not only for narcotics, but for weapons or anything with black powder. So if somebody had a gun in their car or whatever, these dogs were trained to detect that. So I plan on implementing those back into our schools.
So they're not in there currently?
No.
The canines aren't. They they'll come through they'll come through like one time and sweep, and then they're not there constantly. No.
Yeah. So they're not school resource dogs either. They're dual purpose dogs or single purpose dogs.
Is there any kind of issues with needing a warrant for anything? That's public property, right? You could run a dog through there every day. Okay,
absolutely.
Okay. I just I asked that because I don't know if it's Harrison County School. What was the one that's like putting these vape detectors in the bathrooms? Because
it's all Harrison County. Harrison County's done it. Oak Springs.
I don't know if a dog can smell vape or vape pens. Okay.
No.
All right,
it's just tobacco stuff.
Right.
Okay.
But so that's something that I'm going to do, and that will be specifically for the schools. It won't be a dog that's out on patrol. I mean, this will be a school resource dog. Another thing I talked about the analyst, the cyber analyst. I want to create a cyber analyst position strictly to monitor social media that within our schools.
Okay.
These kids because threats and bullying and all that's a thing.
Yep.
Everything now with these kids, it's all at it's all at your fingertips.
It used to be you would leave a note in the bathroom and somebody had found it. Now all they do is take a picture and it's through the whole school in 4 seconds.
Right. I'm beating you up at the end of class. Check me yes or no.
Right.
Right. Well, and just like the power of technology, these kids with cell phones and the ability, like Joey's saying, sending pictures, and you're talking about kids that are not 18.
Right.
Like it gets real squirrely real quick.
So I feel like that's going to be a big benefit to our schools, and I'm hoping that these city schools will catch on to that and say, you know what, that's a good idea. I think we should do the same.
You're not
thing.
trying to be proprietary about this information.
Right. No. No. I think it's a great idea. So it's something that we plan on doing. And another thing that is a buddy of mine that works for the Department of Justice just come back to Mississippi from St. Louis, I believe is what he told me. And he said, Matt, I knew you were running for sheriff. I wanted to reach out to you. The old DEA guy, he worked a lot of my cases when I was on the interstate. He said, they had this program where I was at that I think you should think about adding to your platform. But it's called Handle with Care. And what it is if law enforcement has contact with a child, whether it be a car accident or they had to go to their house for a domestic or, any contact with a child, any negative contact, our law enforcement agency basically reaches out to the school that child goes to and with a contact person, of course, and basically says, Johnny Smith, handle with care. They don't say anything about what happened to him or whatever. So when little Johnny comes to school and he's not being himself or he's disruptive in class or whatever, it lets that teacher know, okay, something happened with him.
Okay.
Let's cut him some slack.
Yeah.
So this was just brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago, but it's definitely something that I'm going to look into. I think it would be a wonderful program for our schools.
Is there any kind of communication when it comes to the sheriff's office now or any police agency with school systems? Because I wonder about that. I've heard kids, there's certain kids that, like they say, that they eat on Friday and then they don't eat again until Monday because
school is their main
right. And then you've got like Child Protective Services, I guess, that gets involved, and there's a thing. I wondered, if it's the same thing for the sheriff's office, police agencies, to kind of let schools know to make that circle, right?
Not to my knowledge, at this point.
And I'm sure there may be. I don't know if privacy is an issue with y'all. Y'all are public.
Yeah.
I don't know how in healthcare you couldn't do that.
Well,
right?
Again, if it was a simple phone call and said, there was no details given.
Correct.
I mean, it's just Johnny Smith, handle with care, and that's the end of it.
Right.
But at least it gives the teachers or the counselors some insight and would help with that, that child.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's because some of these kids, I mean, they go home to just terrible home lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What other issues have you spoke on that we haven't touched on yet? That's part of what's facing Harrison County, the population growth, right?
Yeah,
We're doing nothing but getting bigger.
The sheriff's office is running great right now. You know,
Okay.
that's you know, I think the reason Troy has done so well is because, you know, just like I have said, he's taken what he's learned from the sheriffs before him,
Correct.
you know, the good and the bad, and he's applied it to themselves. And I plan on doing the same thing. You know, I'm going to take what I've learned, the good and the bad, from all of the sheriffs, and apply it to myself. You know, I don't want people to think that I'm not my own person, because, you know, I've got my own ideas and my own views. But, you know, if you can learn a little bit from each person that you've worked for,
You'd be a fool not to.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's going to make you a better person because of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, our biggest issue right now, and I keep, you know, repeat myself, is staffing. I mean, that is the biggest problem that we face right now. And it's huge.
Yeah. And that's a large issue. That in and of itself is like,
huge.
you could build your whole campaign could be just that. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm one issue right now focused, and this is what we got to solve.
That's day number one. I mean, that's got to start. You know, we've got to.
And you're committed to taking that on day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right out of the gate.
Right.
You know, because, you know, some smaller issues that are there, that will help. The staffing will help.
Yeah, for sure. Morale.
Yeah.
Safety, like we mentioned.
Yeah. You know, our work center's not open right now, and it won't open until we get our numbers back up. Yeah. You know, we can't. Now we have daytime workers that are going there, but it's not staffed fully 24 hours. You know,
what is your work center?
So it's inmate workers.
The ones on the side, they pick up trash, cut grass, do all that stuff.
Yeah. So the work center's still used. I mean, we still have workers going there that are working on cars and different things, but they're bussed back and forth from the work center to the jail. The work center was set up for them to stay there. It's a 140 or 144 bed facility.
Now, is that something to like give them trades skills to when they get out? Is that what that is?
Well, not necessarily, but a lot of them do learn.
Okay.
A lot of them do learn while they're there. But we don't have the manpower to staff it. You know, I mean, it would take 20, 22 people to staff that thing, you know, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And when you're 65 down already in the jail, it's, you know, it's not possible. You know, I don't care how you split it up or divide it or sell it. It just can't be done.
Yeah. One of my favorite questions to ask guys running is, what have you learned since the campaign?
How's the campaign been?
You know, eye opening.
A little different, huh?
It's I've learned a lot, actually, but
it's a consensus usually.
You know, when you're not a politician and you don't have a political bone in your body, it's a little bit harder, I think, for that kind of person. You know, I don't meet a stranger. Like my wife tells me all the time, you will literally talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, that part of it doesn't bother me at all. Like I've enjoyed the people that I've met over this, and I've met a lot of good people and have a lot of new friends because of it. But, you know, the politics of it is, you know, I'm up to here with that portion of it, and I'm swallowing every day to try to keep it down.
How's your public speaking gotten since?
Hey, you know, I joke about this. When I was a canine guy, you know, I'd go to all these schools and do these canine demonstrations, and I'd talk to whole schools. But it was the same thing over again. So over and over again, like, I could spout it off left and right. Well, you know, it had been since 2011 since I had done any of that. So when this started, you know,
you're like,
I was a little rough around the edges.
All right. Trial by fire, baby. Get in there and get it done.
But, you know, it's gotten a lot better. You know, I was a nervous wreck a lot of times when I went in to talk to people. You know, I can talk to anybody like this. But when you get up in front of a group of people, you know, of 20 or 30 people that you don't know, like it's uncomfortable.
Well, especially if they're asking questions, right?
Oh,
like, I mean, they got all the time in the world to prep for what they want to know.
The benefit for me, I feel like, is, you know, there's really not a whole lot I don't know about the department.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
but it's because, you know, I've been there for so long, and I've been in every division. You know, aviation. I hadn't flown the helicopter. I mean, but
yet.
I mean, but, you know, when you've got a little bit of knowledge from every area that you worked, you know, the question portion of it is really not that hard for me. You know, it's a lot of people don't have that benefit. You know, if you haven't been in those divisions, you know, there's, you know, somebody from the jail could call me and say, "Hey, I'm having this problem. What do you think?" And I could give them an opinion. Narcotics, I was over the narcotics unit. If they called me with a case and said, "Hey, this is what we got. What do you think about this?" I can give them an opinion because I've been there.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
In criminal or CID, criminal investigations division, same thing. If somebody called me with a case there because they were having a problem or whatever, I could have an opinion because I've done the job. So it's to have that under your belt, it's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And people pick up on that. There's no doubt about that. If you was a little, not well versed the first couple of times you talk, like people can sense. They can smell experience, and tell if you know what you're talking about.
Right.
So that's great.
Well, the workload's got to be huge, right? Y'all have had 3 debates. Y'all have been all over the coast. You've been to the fishing rodeo. Y'all have been.
Man, it is from can to can't every day.
Yeah.
Like I say this jokingly, and I say it on here. They're like, "Well, what do you do on Sunday?" I said, "Well, Sundays usually we go to a different church every Sunday." And I said, "When I get home from church, I usually sit in the corner and suck my thumb and cry because I know it's going to start all over again.
Yeah, got to do it all again Monday morning."
Yeah, people don't realize. I mean, I don't realize. I've never ran for anything like that. It's demanding.
Yeah, no.
So,
I say that as a joke, of course, but it's a fact. I mean, it starts all over again Monday morning. I leave my house before 8:00 every morning, and it's usually 8:30 or after by the time I get home, depending on what's going on. We're walking neighborhoods every day. I'm here doing this with y'all.
Yeah.
My wife has a team of people right now walking neighborhoods without me. So it's definitely a team effort. And you really see who your friends are and who's behind you when you run for something like this.
Right.
It humbles you for real.
Yeah.
I've dropped the link to your Facebook page, Matt Haley for Sherriff, in the comments below. People that are watching on the live or even on the replays, they can go click that and check out your stuff there. Right. You've got some videos up.
So we've got videos up, and there are a lot of good informative videos.
Yes.
That I would encourage people to watch because it's a lot about what our plans are and our platform and my experience and this whole campaign. That's what I have run on is my experience because I'm very well versed. I mean, I'm a been there, done that guy. And I'm not a politician, and I think that's probably my best trait.
There you go. There you go. You've had it from the boots on the ground side to the administrative side, so you've seen it.
Yeah. So you've been out there putting out signs, I'm sure. I got to ask you a question. Why does yours have 23 on it? Why does it have a date on it? I haven't noticed anybody else with a date on it.
So this is your running year.
Okay.
2023 is your running year.
Right. I just noticed it because I was looking and I went down a year and I was like, nobody else has a year on it.
So weird. it's your running year.
Yeah.
So after this is over, you take over. You get sworn in 2024.
Right.
So I didn't really think that out very well because here's the thing: it's on all my signs.
Yeah.
So
now you got to redo them.
Yeah. So at the end of this, when we win this thing, I'm like,
that's probably why. Now you got to go buy a whole new sign.
I got to talk to this person who designed the sign thing.
And we've talked about it because we looked into just the
expensive.
small. They're not cheap. They are not cheap.
No. And everybody wants them.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it all myself in the beginning of this.
Not possible.
No, my buddy calls me and he's like, "You're done.
Yeah.
The sign, you are done with the signs.
Yeah.
You cannot keep up with this. You're trying to do this, put this sign out, go over here." So my guys have they've got a sign chat where there's like a whole bunch of them where they, and they won't even let me in the chat.
They delegate it out for you.
You're still giving them out though, right?
Still
yeah.
Well,
time's winding down. What do we got left?
22 days.
22
not that I'm
days.
counting.
Not that you count at all, or that he knows exactly when.
I can tell you the hours and the minutes if you like.
Either way, it's going to be
at
the end, huh?
Yeah, it's
August the 8th.
Yeah, August 8th.
Yeah,
and it's been hard, but I've enjoyed this. I really have. I've met a ton of good people. I've never met y'all before.
Right.
I'm glad to be here with y'all.
Two duds out of the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. No doubt.
So August the 8th, though, we talk about it on the show all the time. Everybody's got to get out and vote. I mean, that's why we do this. That's why we have this segment of the show, because to me, local politics is I'm going to say more important. I mean, you could argue each
Well,
side.
they're taking care of business right there at home.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
you know, it's important to get those people in there that you know are going to do the right thing and take care of business like they're supposed to. You know, in the last sheriff's election in Harrison County that we had, you know, our population, I think, is in upwards of 250,000 people or close to that.
Mm-hmm.
20,700 voters came out for the
terrible.
last.
Absolutely
I mean, it's
terrible.
like you just shake your head.
It doesn't even make any sense.
That kind of sounds like a high number to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have guessed lower. But that you're right. That's not.
People
that's not
fought and died for that right.
Right.
And you're just gonna sit on your couch and eat popcorn.
Yeah.
And watch it on WLX a little quicker.
Right.
What I kind of, and I've mentioned it before on here, it's like when you look at like COVID, right, and the way that kind of train wrecked everything, you realize how important your local officials are in giving pushback to the federal government, all the way down to the school boards fighting for deeming people domestic terrorists for not wanting certain things taught in certain schools. And I'm like, whoa, like it's important. I want a guy that I can call up and be like, hey man.
A lot of people I've noticed over the years that unless they have something vested in an election, like, you know, Jimmy's cousin, whoever is running for supervisor or whatever, unless they have some tie, they're just, well, it'll be, you know, it'll be all right. You know,
somebody
I don't need to vote for them. So, you know, a lot of people, if they just don't have anything vested, they're not interested in it.
And then nowadays, it's like the presidential elections are turning into like some type of like red versus blue Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, it seems like that's growing, the
Yeah.
people that turn out for that election, which that's great, you know, but these local ones are important.
Yeah. And also, you know, I don't, you know, myself growing up, my family were not big voters. Like, I mean, nobody said you need to get registered, you need to do that. It's
same for me.
You know, it was my wife's family that their family was, they were big into voting. So, you know, at the time, you know, they were like, you're going to get registered.
Yeah.
You know, I was 18, of course. I was still had all my hair. But I've preached it to my two boys. You know, I've told them how important it is, and you know, you've got to change. You got to break the cycle somewhere.
Correct.
And you know, parents need to, you know, they need to voice that to their children, how important it is to get out and vote. Because if they don't, then those kids are going to grow up and not going to care whether, you know.
The only downside is jury duty, and you only get that. You only get picked once every week.
Hey, what's funny is the amount of people that have reached out to me and said, I ain't never registered to vote before, but I just got registered. I'm voting for you.
There you go.
Like, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And you talk about people, you know, died for the right to vote. They've also died for the right to have a jury by trial. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Even though it ain't fun, it's just as important as the voting part. You know? And I'll cry when I get summonsed and complain too. So,
but it goes back to what I said. People that don't have anything vested, they just don't care. And you know, some of these people that have just never really involved themselves in anything political, now all of a sudden, because they know me, they want to get involved. Well, I'm going to go get registered just so I can vote for you.
That's right. Well, where can we? Where do we send people? Where are you the most active? Is it the Facebook page for messages or
my
questions?
Facebook page? Yeah. Or they can go to my website. My cell phone number is on my website. They can call me directly and I'll answer the phone.
I love hearing that.
It's
not for me. I mean, not for you. That's terrible for you. But
I'm surprised at the amount of phone calls that I've gotten, and they've said, "Is this the Matt Haley for Sheriff campaign?" And I was like, "This is Matt Haley," and they're like,
right.
Okay. Well, I wasn't expecting to get you. And
Matt Haley's what?" And it's like, "No, Matt Haley."
Yeah. What can I do for you?
Yeah. Have you had some interesting questions so far?
Yeah. You know, probably the most common question I've been asked is, you know, do you consider yourself a constitutional sheriff? And what about our Second Amendment rights? And I'm like, I absolutely consider myself a constitutional sheriff. You know, I'm a firm believer in our Second Amendment rights.
I'm glad.
But people worry about that. You know, people worry about. They worry
that?
About, you know, big government coming down and taking over.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but that's a legitimate worry of some people.
But I would rather, God forbid that happens, right? But I would rather have my governor, my state representatives, my sheriff,
and that's
giving them all the hell in the world and making it as difficult as they can.
I've told them all the same thing. I am a constitutional sheriff.
Right.
I'm not going to do anything that I think goes against our constitutional rights, I stand by that.
There you go.
And people appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially down here, and especially in today's time.
Yeah.
So
it's and I tell people that too. Things are different here in the South.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a lot of family that live in a lot of the northern states, and sometimes when things go on up there, they're calling me, going, "How's everything down there? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we don't
do
that down here.
Do that
here. People for the most part down here are still raising their children to respect law enforcement and to do the right thing, and all the good Southern qualities that most people have, Southern hospitality,
Correct.
manners, and the things that
Correct.
you should teach your children.
Correct.
We're still doing that for the most part here in the South, and I think that will continue.
I agree.
I got one more, and I asked your opponent this too. How does the medical marijuana throw a wrench in y'all's stuff?
It's a big issue.
Well, yes, it is.
For y'all to have to deal with.
Well,
to me,
it is, and it. It brings in another element of crime, and it's just something that we have to prepare for. I mean, it's we're not reinventing the wheel. There are other states that are already dealing with this, and what I would like to see happen, and if I have any say so in it, if I'm elected, we're gonna take a trip to one of these other cities that are already dealing with some of the problems, and just kind of see what they're dealing with, what they've put in place, and how it's affected them, just so we know in advance.
Do you know if y'all your Harrison County has put out any kind of like a statement, maybe? Like, I guess maybe when you get the card, there's ways to carry it, ways to handle it, ways to prove to y'all that it's
legit.
And if not, maybe that would be something that.
So, not since I retired, I'm not saying that that it hasn't happened yet, but. There's a lot of issues that we're going to have to deal with along the way, but it was voted on, and the people want it, and
like
you just gotta figure it out, and that's just what we got to do, is figure it out. Again, there's a lot of agencies that have already dealt with this, and they're full speed ahead with it. So it's always good. It's always better to go out and get some outside influence and figure out the best way to handle it, because you may talk to somebody in Colorado or some of these other states, and they say, well, this is what we're doing, but I wish if we had it to do over again, maybe this is how we would do it.
For sure.
So I think that's going to be important to try to get a handle on it, because we're still we're still in the beginning stages of this. I mean, we're not
better to get in front of it.
Yeah, we got to get ahead of it.
And that's every industry. It ain't just you.
Yeah.
It ain't just law enforcement.
It's going to bring a different level of crime too. That's something that we're going to have to deal with. People breaking into these, facilities and
stealing cars
and hitting these grow facilities, and it's going to bring a whole new element of crime, and it's something that we just have to be ready for.
Yeah. Well, Matt, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
we appreciate
man,
your time. I know you're busy. Hey,
this is not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's easy, man.
Informal. That's what I like. Is
extremely informal. That's how we like to keep it here. But yeah, we appreciate your time. Good luck on the campaign.
Yep.
Everybody, August the 8th, get out and vote. It's very important. And if y'all keep tuning in, we'll keep doing them.
That's right.
See y'all in the next one.